She kissed me that morning like she always did, coffee in hand, perfume light and sweet. But the paper I found in the trash told a different story. I wasn't snooping. Hell, I hate even touching other people's things. But I was taking the trash out, like I always do every Tuesday morning, and the wind caught the lid just as I lifted the bag. A single folded sheet blew out, crisp, fresh, not even stained with coffee grounds like the rest. I bent down to grab it. At first, I thought it was just some mailer. Then I saw the letterhead. Before we continue, please subscribe to the channel and write in the comments where you're watching from. Delray and Keller Real Estate Group. The kind of firm that sells million-dollar beach homes with white marble countertops and imported tile patios. And there it was halfway down the page, my full name, printed and signed. Leonard Delaney. Only one problem. That wasn't my signature. I stood there for a long minute, paper flapping in my hand, sun beating down on the back of my neck. The breeze smelled like salt and cut grass, but in my chest, something sour started rising. I walked inside slowly, like a man stepping into cold water. Cheryl was upstairs, drying her hair. I could hear the hum of the blow dryer and her humming along to some song she liked. I didn't say anything. I just sat at the kitchen table and read every word of the page. It was a pre-authorization to list the property. My house, the one I'd bought in 1997. The one Mary and I lived in for 23 years before she died in that very bedroom. The same house I renovated with my own hands, new wiring, tiled the floors, built the screened porch out back to keep the mosquitoes off us during poker nights. Every inch of that house had my sweat in it. And Cheryl? She'd moved in just 3 years ago. 3 years of sweet smiles, gentle encouragement, and very subtle suggestions. Let me help with the bills, hon. I'll take care of this call, you rest. Want me to run that by the accountant? It hadn't seemed like a big deal at the time. She was good at all that. Efficient, organized, supportive. But now I saw it for what it was. She'd been preparing this for months. My eyes dropped again to the signature. Neat, balanced, forged. Not even close to how my hand actually writes. And then the phone rang. Cheryl's phone. She must have left it charging on the counter while she was upstairs. The screen lit up with a name I didn't recognize. Tyler Money with Wings, that's her son. From her first marriage. 20-something. Online entrepreneur. Thinks being a content creator means something. I was about to ignore it, not my business, when the call connected to voicemail and the line stayed open. I wouldn't have even noticed if not for the sound that came next. Did he see it? It was Cheryl's voice. Muffled but clear. She was talking to someone. No, I threw it out before he came down. He doesn't check the trash. He never does. Pause. Ty, we're so close. Just need a few more days. Once it's listed, it's just a matter of time. He won't know until it's too late. I felt the back of my neck go hot. Not from the Florida heat. From the kind of anger that doesn't explode, the kind that simmers so deep you forget how to speak. She kept talking. He still thinks I'm looking at beach rentals for our anniversary. I told him we should get a little condo near the shore. He loved the idea. Silence. Then laughter. God, he's so easy. You just act sweet, play the doting wife, let him nap while you talk to the agent. You were right, old men don't read fine print. I didn't hear the rest. I didn't need to. I walked to the back porch, closed the door, sat down in the old rocking chair I'd built from cedar 2 summers ago, and I rocked. Not fast, not angry, just enough to hear the wood creak, to feel the wind on my face, to think. She thought I didn't know. She thought I was slow, tired, grateful for her attention. She thought my brain retired with my time card. But here's what Cheryl forgot. I built this life, brick by damn brick. I buried a wife. I raised a daughter. I worked 38 years managing crews that poured concrete in triple-digit heat. I watched snakes slither across job sites and pulled rebar with my own hands when the forklift broke. I survived worse than her lipstick lies. I went inside, placed the paper neatly back in the trash, exactly as I'd found it. Then I opened the locked drawer in my office desk, the one with Mary's name still carved into the side, and pulled out an old folder. House title, Delaney Residence, signed. notarized, in my name only, and behind that another folder, one I hadn't touched in years. Greg Wallace, attorney at law. He helped us with the estate after Mary passed. I flipped open my phone, scrolled to Greg Wallace, and stared at the number. My thumb hovered. Not yet. They always make one more mistake before it's over. I was going to let Cheryl keep digging. And when she hit the bottom, I'd be the one holding the shovel. I didn't say a word that day. Not when Cheryl brought me lunch like usual, turkey sandwich, light on the mayo, just the way I liked it. Not when she sat beside me on the couch and asked if I wanted to watch that home renovation show we always watched together. And not when she leaned over, kissed me on the cheek, and whispered, "I hope you know how lucky I feel to have you." That part almost made me laugh. Almost. Instead, I just smiled, squeezed her hand gently, and said, "You make this house a home, sweetheart." She kissed me again, walked away. I watched her hips sway down the hallway like nothing had changed. But everything had. That night, while she was taking her bubble bath with a glass of wine, her ritual before bed, I pulled out the box I hadn't opened in years. A wooden one. Old, battered, tucked under my tool bench out in the garage. Inside were copies of every major financial document I'd ever kept. Titles, birth certificates, medical records, old pay stubs, the works. Some might call me paranoid. But I was raised by a man who didn't trust anyone, not banks, not friends, not even bloodkin. He said, "Always have a paper trail, son. And never give your keys to a stranger just because she smiles nice." I found what I needed. Original title deed, Leonard Delaney. Sole owner. Notarized. Stamped. No transfer. No co-ownership. Next to it, a folder I hadn't thought about in a decade. Greg Wallace's contact info. Estate documents after Mary died. Life insurance. Transfer of assets. I opened it slowly, like handling something sacred. Greg had done everything by the book. And more importantly, he'd warned me back then, gently, "Don't let anyone add themselves to this deed, Lenny. Not unless you're ready to risk everything." I hadn't. But apparently, someone else had tried to. The next morning, Cheryl left for her volunteer shift at the church thrift store. She kissed me goodbye, wearing that breezy blue sundress she knew I liked. I waved from the porch like a man too sweet to suspect a thing. The moment her car pulled off, I was already dialing. Greg Wallace's office. "This is Lisa. How can I help you?" "Lisa, this is Leonard Delaney. I need to speak with Greg. It's urgent." 10 minutes later, I was in his private office, door closed, files laid out between us. Greg had aged some, whiter hair, slower gait, but the mind behind those eyes was still sharp as hell. He read the fake listing document in silence, then whistled low. "That's a damn bit forgery," he said finally. But not good enough. He flipped the page, tapped the signature line. "This L doesn't match your slant. The tail curves up instead of down. Plus, they got the address wrong, 2417 Seaside Lane, not 2471. That's not a typo. That's someone rushing." He looked at me. "Who forged this?" "My wife," I said, steady as steel. "And probably her son, too. Tyler Knox. Online hustler. Real estate degree from some diploma mill." Greg didn't blink. Just nodded and pulled out a yellow legal pad. "You want to go legal now or wait?" "Wait. Let her feel safe a little longer." He grinned. "Smart man. Got a plan. I want to know everything she's doing. Every contact, every document, every password. I want to track it all quietly." Greg leaned back. "I might know someone." 2 hours later, I met Wade Thompson for coffee at a diner off Route 84. Wade and I go back decades. He's ex-law enforcement. Did 28 years in the sheriff's department, mostly white-collar crime. Retired now, but still sharp. Still has friends in high places. He stirred cream into his coffee like he had all the time in the world. "So, you think she's trying to sell your house?" "Trying?" "No, she is. And your name's the only one on the deed?" "Always has been." Wade leaned in, lowered his voice. "I'll make a few calls. See if there's been any activity tied to your property, listings, escrow movements, anything filed in county records. If there's a digital footprint, I'll find it. Appreciate it. He looked at me for a long second. You sure about this, Len? It could get messy. I took a sip of black coffee and said, she crossed a line she doesn't know I drew. He nodded. And with that, the wheels were turning. That night, Cheryl cooked salmon. Candlelight. Music. Just because, she said, smiling. She fed me lies between bites. Told me how grateful she was. How lucky she felt. I listened. Smiled. Washed dishes while she went to bed early. Then I slipped into the office. Step 1. I removed her as an authorized user on my bank account. Step 2. I reset the password on the digital title document account. She wouldn't even know what had changed until it was too late. Step 3. I logged into the security camera system I'd installed years ago and made sure it recorded audio now. She thought I was just some old man who sat on the porch and read books. But what she didn't know, I used to handle site security for a $60 million development project. I've watched people lie through smiles for a living. I've seen quiet men ruin louder ones without raising their voice. And now I was that quiet man. She could keep smiling, because soon she'd be smiling for the last time under this roof. Cheryl started locking her phone. That was the first sign she knew something was off. For months, she'd leave it face up on the counter while she cooked or showered. But now, the screen never lit up unless she was already holding it. And when it did, she'd angle it away from me. I didn't react, didn't ask questions, didn't mention the missing listing form. I still left her little notes on the fridge, still made her tea when her sinuses flared up, still kissed her cheek every evening. But I watched everything. Wade came by the next afternoon under the pretense of borrowing a router bit from my garage. When Cheryl saw him pull in, she waved from the porch. Still fixing everything yourself, Wade? He smiled. You know me. Can't trust the kids at Home Depot these days. She laughed and went back inside. Once we were in the garage with the door closed, he handed me a folder. 2 agents have accessed your property records this week, he said. One of them's legit, a guy named Rick Keller. The other's a junior associate. Brand new license. Guess who he works for? I raised an eyebrow. Tyler Knox. Her son. Wade opened the folder. Inside were printed logs from the county property access portal. Tyler used his login to pull your deed, tax records, and zoning info. Then 3 hours later, Cheryl called Rick's office pretending to be you. She used my name? She said she was handling the property for her husband Leonard Delaney told them you had arthritis and preferred not to be bothered. Tried to schedule a walkthrough. I stared at the paper. Her handwriting was neat, looping, a little too polished. Like she'd practiced it. She was going to walk them through the house? Wade nodded. Soft list. No MLS yet, no paperwork filed. Just testing the waters. I let out a slow breath. She's getting bolder. Because she thinks you're blind, Wade said. But you're not. And she's sloppy. He paused, then added, You ready to take this further? I looked at him. No, not yet. I want her to think she's winning. That night, Cheryl came home with a shopping bag full of candles, table runners, and a new set of guest towels. We might have company soon, she said brightly. I was thinking of hosting a little dinner party. Anyone I know? Oh, just some friends of Tyler's. He's been wanting to bring them by. Of course, prospective buyers. And I was supposed to sit there and play the happy old fool. I smiled. Sounds great. She leaned over and kissed me. You're such a sweetheart, Lenny. Honestly, I don't know how I got so lucky. The next morning, I waited until she left for the gym. Then I opened her laptop. It wasn't hard. She'd used the same password since we met, Tyler 2000. What I found wasn't shocking. Just confirming. Email threads with Rick Keller asking for discrete preliminary interest listings. Photos of the house labeled staging ideas and front porch before cleanup. And one document, not yet printed but ready, a power of attorney request, listing her as the authorized signer for me. I stared at that file for a long time. Then I copied it and emailed it, along with the rest, to Greg Wallace and Wade. Subject line, so much for trust. I also installed a small voice recorder in the light fixture above the dining table, the kind contractors use during inspections. Battery powered, motion activated. That same evening, Cheryl had a phone call while folding laundry in the next room. She didn't know I was outside the window on the porch. Her voice was clear. He's still clueless. I swear, Tyler, it's like dealing with a Labrador. Loyal and half asleep. We just need the signatures. Then you can pitch it, and I'll handle him. Pitch what? I didn't know yet, but I would. 2 days later, she asked if I wanted to visit the antique market on Saturday. I said yes. She drove. While we were out, Wade called. I followed up with the agent. She's booked a viewing next Thursday. Noon. Does she know I'll be home? She told them you'd be at a doctor's appointment. Classic. She was trying to sneak a walkthrough behind my back. I scheduled a meeting with Greg that same day. Quietly started drafting paperwork. Real paperwork. Binding documents. One of them was a revocation of all prior verbal agreements regarding shared property, maintenance, or representation. The other was an intent to file fraud investigation if forged documents were submitted to any agency. Greg had the look of a man holding back satisfaction. You're playing this well, Lenny. I'm not done yet. I went home, made dinner, and told Cheryl how grateful I was that she'd stayed through my rough year. I even thanked her for handling things so I could relax. She beamed. The next morning, she ordered new blinds. Apparently, light control was important when presenting a property. She said it was for our comfort. But I saw the invoice. Staged homes sell faster. She was getting ready. So was I. And when the doorbell rang Thursday at noon, she opened it like a queen. Only this time, I wasn't at any doctor's office. I stood behind her, arms folded, watching 3 strangers walk into my living room with shoes on and realtor smiles plastered on their faces. Her expression? Priceless. She froze in the doorway like someone slapped her. The realtor, a polished man in his 40s with a clipboard and polished shoes, blinked at me. Mr. Delaney? That's right, I said calmly. Owner of the property. And you are? Rick Keller. We spoke on the phone with, he glanced at Cheryl. She told me you'd be at an appointment, he finished weakly. I turned to Cheryl. Her face had gone pale, except for 2 bright patches on her cheeks. You scheduled a showing in my home, I said, and told them I'd be out. Lenny, I save it. My voice was quiet, but it cut clean through the room. I stepped aside. Let them see the house. No need to waste their time. But we're doing it my way. The 3 potential buyers stepped in, awkward smiles glued to their faces. I greeted each one, firm handshake, eye contact. Let them know this wasn't a woman's house to sell. This was mine. Rick cleared his throat and tried to smooth things over. It's a beautiful space. Good bones, great light. It's not for sale, I said. He blinked. I was under the impression she forged my consent. Dead silence. Then Cheryl snapped, her voice cracking. I was just trying to get us out of this place, Lenny. It's too big. You hate mowing the lawn. I was doing you a favor. I looked her straight in the eye. You lied to an agent, accessed my documents without consent, and tried to get strangers to walk through the house while I wasn't home. That's not a favor. That's fraud. She opened her mouth, but I raised my hand. Meeting's over. Rick muttered an apology and ushered the buyers out, murmuring something about confusion and crossed wires. As the door clicked shut behind them, Cheryl rounded on me. What the hell do you think you're doing? Protecting what's mine, I said simply. She stormed into the kitchen. I followed. I have rights too, you know, she shouted. We're married. This house is ours. No, I said, pulling a file from the drawer. It's not. I laid it on the kitchen table like a trump card. Certified deed copy. My name only. Filed 1997. No addendums. No cosigners. She looked down. Blinked. Then came the quieter lie. But we talked about adding me. You said, we talked, I interrupted. I never filed. You know how I know that? I reached into the folder again. Because I had Greg Wallace, my attorney, pull the records last week. And I had him draft this, I dropped the next paper. Revocation of verbal agreements and financial authority. Legally signed. Notarized. It voided any claims she might try to make about shared ownership, financial codependence, or implied promises. Lenny, this is insane. This is law, I said, cold. You used my name without permission. You accessed my banking portal from your laptop. I have the IP logs. You attempted to initiate a listing under my name. That's attempted fraud. She tried to spin. She really did. I was just trying to help. You're tired all the time. I didn't think you'd want the stress of selling. No, I said. You didn't think I'd notice. She slumped into a chair. And for the first time since this started, she looked scared. Good. I sat across from her. Calm. Controlled. I'm giving you a choice. She looked up. I'm filing for divorce. That's already in motion. You can either cooperate and sign what's coming without fighting, or I can proceed with a full criminal report. Your son will be named, too. She opened her mouth, but no words came. I leaned in. You think I'm bluffing? Go ahead. Try me. The next morning, Greg filed the divorce petition, and Cheryl moved into the guest room. For 3 days, we passed each other like strangers in a train station. She didn't speak, didn't cook, didn't even try her fake smiles anymore. But I knew something was brewing. And on the 4th night, it arrived 2:17 a.m. I woke to the sound of quiet whispers outside my bedroom door. I slipped out of bed, pressed my ear to the wood. Her voice. Low. Urgent. We have to act fast. He's trying to cut me out completely. Yes, I still have the power of attorney draft. Tyler, listen to me. I opened the door mid-sentence. She gasped. Phone still in her hand. I didn't say a word. Just stared at her. She hung up slowly. I was calling a friend. Sure, I said. A friend who forged my signature, right? She tried to move past me. I didn't stop her. I just turned and said, You've got 48 hours to leave this house. After that, the sheriff will escort you. She paused. Where am I supposed to go? That's not my problem anymore. She stood there a second longer. But she could tell the man standing in front of her wasn't the man who used to smile through her manipulation. That man was gone. In his place, a homeowner, a fighter, a man who'd finally woken up. The morning Cheryl left the house, she didn't say goodbye. She didn't slam the door or break into tears. She just walked out, suitcase rolling behind her like it had wheels made of guilt. She didn't even ask where to go, just got into her car and drove off. I watched from the porch, coffee mug in hand, heart quiet. But I knew it wasn't over. Not with a woman like her. And definitely not with a son like Tyler Knox. By that afternoon, the emails started. The first one came through my old Gmail account, the one I barely used. We need to talk. You're being unreasonable. We can settle this. I didn't respond. Then came the text messages. You'll ruin her life over a misunderstanding? This could have been a civil conversation. If you keep pushing, we'll go public with what we know. That last line stuck with me. What we know. It was empty, but it was bait. And I'd seen enough bad poker players in my life to recognize a bluff when it stank. I called Greg. Let them threaten, he said. If they had anything, they'd have led with it. They're trying to rattle you. Don't blink. I didn't. But I did prepare. I met with Wade the next day. We sat under the big oak in his backyard, cold beers sweating in the Florida heat. He handed me a manila envelope. Got what you asked for. Inside was a compiled report of Tyler's financial activity. The kid wasn't just playing house. He was playing with other people's money. 3 failed startups, 2 defaulted loans, IRS liens, and 1 investigation pending from a property flip that never flipped. I flipped through the documents. This boy's a walking indictment, I muttered. He's using Cheryl for stability, Wade added. She thinks she's in control, but he's the one driving the con. He sees you as a last ATM before the whole house of cards collapses. And she still thinks he's her golden boy. Wade looked at me. You ready to let them fall together? More than ready, I said. Before we continue, please subscribe to the channel and write in the comments where you're watching from. That evening, I received a voicemail from an unknown number. I let it play on speaker while sitting in the garage. It was Cheryl. Lenny, look. I know things got twisted. I never meant for it to go this far. But Tyler, he's not a bad kid. He's just under pressure. We can fix this. I'll sign whatever you want, just don't take this public. I replayed that last part twice. Don't take this public. So that's what she was afraid of. Reputation. I picked up the recorder from the office, the one I'd hidden in a dining room ceiling vent. Replayed the clip from that night she called Tyler. He's trying to cut me out completely. Yes, I still have the power of attorney draft. Tyler, listen to me perfect. The next day, I sent a package. 2 copies of that audio file. A flash drive with documents. Screenshots. Transaction history. Email exchanges. Everything. One envelope went to Greg. The other? To Tyler's former investor. The one who sued him last year for breach of contract. He'd left a trail of damage, and I was making sure it circled back. That night, the storm broke. It came in the form of a black SUV pulling up in front of my house at 9:44 p.m. loud knocking. 3 hard pounds. I opened the door, calm as ice. Tyler stood there in a fitted blazer and jeans, trying to look expensive, but the sweat on his forehead ruined the effect. "What the hell do you think you're doing?" he hissed. Standing in my doorway. "What are you doing?" "You sent private financial information to a third party. That's illegal." "No," I said, stepping closer. "You forged documents in an attempt to defraud a homeowner. That's illegal. Want to compare charges?" He stepped back, but not far. "You think anyone's going to believe an old man over us?" I let that sit for a beat. Then I spoke. "Ask Rick Keller." He blinked. "Ask your mother. Ask the 3 people who walked through my living room and watched her lie to their faces. Ask the county clerk who flagged your access credentials. Ask the attorney general when I hand them everything." He swallowed. "You think we're scared of a retired concrete manager?" "No," I said. "You're scared of everything I know. And that's why you're here." He turned, muttered something under his breath, and stomped down the steps. "Tell your mother I called after him. I've got more copies than she's got candles." He slammed the car door. As he sped off, I stood under the porch light, watching brake lights disappear down the dark street. The phone rang a few minutes later. "Greg, you sent it. Both copies. Confirmed delivery. You know they'll try one more move." "I'm counting on it," I said. Because people like Cheryl and Tyler, they don't know how to back down. They only know how to escalate. And when they did, I'd be waiting with the final card, already face down on the table. The next few days passed with a strange, expectant silence, like the ocean before a storm. No more calls, no emails, no mysterious knocks at the door. Even Cheryl's name disappeared from my phone screen. But I didn't relax, because I knew what kind of people I was dealing with. They weren't the kind that surrendered, they recalculated. And I was right. On Thursday morning, I got a letter. Certified mail. Return address. Coral Springs Family Law Mediation Group. The envelope was thick, the kind that only ever brings trouble or divorce settlements. Inside, a formal, pre-litigation demand for spousal compensation and marital asset division. Apparently, Cheryl was preparing to claim half the value of the home, retroactive financial support for the uncompensated domestic labor she'd contributed, and a portion of my pension, citing shared economic expectations during the marriage. She wanted $243,000. I stared at the number like it was a bad joke. But it wasn't a joke. It was her last move. A legal squeeze. A play to force me into settlement, not because she'd win, but because most men my age would panic at the paperwork and pay to make it go away. But I wasn't most men. I made one phone call. Greg. He was already expecting it. They filed, he asked. Just got the packet. He sighed. I've seen this move before. They're bluffing. You think they'll push it? Nope. Because tomorrow we're filing 2 things of our own. He sounded almost cheerful. Counteraction for fraud, civil and criminal, and a referral to the State Board of Realtors with attached documentation of Cheryl and Tyler's attempted forgery, misrepresentation, and financial manipulation. They're done, aren't they? Oh, Greg said, they're toast. And Tyler's license? Kiss it goodbye. That night, I sat in the living room. No TV. Just the fan spinning above and a soft hum of Florida crickets outside. I pulled out the old album again. Mary's face looked up at me from a page worn soft by years. Her smile. Always calm. Always knowing. You were right, I said softly. She wasn't who she pretended to be. I could almost hear her voice. Then don't let her win. Not even once. The next day, Greg filed everything, and I took a quiet ride to the office of the State Board of Realtors. A man named Marcus Holbrook met me at the front desk. Tall, calm, with the kind of eyes that had seen plenty of fake smiles and nervous liars. "You're the homeowner?" he asked. "Yes. And you've brought the materials?" I handed him the flash drive. Timeline, recordings, screen captures. Everything backed up. Names, dates, login records. Even a transcript of a conversation she didn't know I recorded. He nodded. "This is serious," he said. "It was never personal," I replied. "Until they made it so." I left the office lighter. Not happy. Not yet. But steady. Clean. Later that evening, just before sunset, Cheryl showed up again. She parked crooked on the driveway like she had a right to stand there. Wore a pale pink blouse and carried white roses in her hand, Mary's favorite. Subtle. Calculated. She rang the bell like she hadn't betrayed a thing in her life. I opened the door but didn't step aside. "Lenny," she said. I don't want to fight." "You already did." She swallowed. "I got your attorney's response." "Good. I didn't want this to be ugly." "Then you shouldn't have made it ugly." She held out the roses. "I thought maybe we could talk." I looked at the flowers, then at her. Then I stepped back and let the door close between us. She didn't knock again, didn't shout, just stood there a moment, then laid the roses gently at the doorstep and walked away. I waited until her car disappeared down the street, then picked up the roses and dropped them into the trash bin beside the porch, right on top of the certified envelope she'd sent 2 days ago. No notes, no explanations, just silence. The kind of silence that comes at the end of something, and the beginning of something better. 2 weeks passed. Long, clean, quiet weeks. No calls. No visits. No more roses on my doorstep. Cheryl had finally gone still, but it wasn't peace. It was pressure. The kind that builds just before something cracks. I spent those days tending to the garden Mary once loved. Pruned the lemon tree. Sanded the back porch railings. Replaced the bulbs along the driveway. When you've lived through betrayal, it helps to fix things you can hold in your hands. Then Greg called. His voice had a smile in it before he even spoke. "Well, Lenny, you'll want to sit down." "I'm standing." "Then stand proud." I heard him flip a page. State Board of Realtors officially suspended Tyler Knox's provisional license. Indefinitely. I didn't say anything. He went on. Fraud, conflict of interest, unauthorized access to protected records, attempted coercion of a legal property transfer. All documented. All traced. I exhaled. And Cheryl? She's been issued a notice of investigation by the state for attempted title fraud and unauthorized representation of a property owner. Penalties pending. And the divorce? Final hearing is scheduled next week. But at this point, she's got no leverage left. You're walking out clean. I sat in the old rocking chair, the one with the faded green cushion. Sunlight filtered through the porch slats, warm on my arms. "Thank you, Greg." "No," he said. "Thank you for not letting them win quietly." 3 days later, Cheryl called. The number came up blocked, but her voice was unmistakable. I let it go to voicemail. She spoke with that soft, breathy tone she used to fake vulnerability. "I know everything's going forward. I hoped we could end it with dignity. For both our sakes." She paused. "I've lost everything, Lenny. I hope that's what you wanted." I deleted the message. Because it wasn't about what I wanted. It was about what she deserved. And she hadn't lost everything. Not yet. The day before the divorce hearing, I mailed out 6 envelopes, each one addressed to a different local association, investment group, or property firm where Cheryl had once worked as a contractor, volunteer, or referral partner. Inside, a clean, professional summary of the investigation findings. All public record. No emotion. No spite. Just facts. Let the industry do the rest. People like her depend on reputation. But reputations are like glass. Once cracked, it's only a matter of time. That night, the doorbell rang. I wasn't expecting anyone. I opened the door slow. Cheryl stood there in flats and a blazer that didn't fit right anymore. Her hair was pulled back, but not with care, more like necessity. She looked tired, defeated. She held a small envelope. "Divorce paperwork," she said. I signed. I didn't take it. She held it a second longer, then set it on the porch railing. "I'm not asking you to forgive me," she said. "Good," I said. She blinked, taken aback by how flat my voice was. I was scared. About money. About getting older. Tyler kept saying we could build something. "You built a lie," I said. She looked down. "And you weren't the woman I thought you were. Not even close." Silence. She nodded once. Turned. Paused halfway down the steps. "You loved her," she said. "Mary." It wasn't a question. "Yes," I said. She didn't turn around. Just nodded again. "I hope she never saw this." "She saw it before you even stepped foot in that house." And with that, Cheryl Delaney walked out of my life for the last time. No more roses. No more sweet lies. No more trying to play the part of a wife when all she ever wanted was the inheritance without the history. When the door clicked shut behind me, it felt like the house finally exhaled. Like I finally exhaled. The weight was gone. And all that was left was what I still owned. Every square foot. Every breath of clean air. Every inch of dignity she tried to steal restored. The courthouse was quiet that morning. Clean lines. Polished floors. Echoes of lawyers' shoes bouncing off marble. I sat alone on the bench outside courtroom 2B, folder in hand, suit freshly pressed. I hadn't worn it since Mary's funeral. Somehow, it still fit. Cheryl arrived 5 minutes before the hearing. No eye contact. No small talk. She sat across the hallway with her attorney, flipping through documents like they meant anything now. Greg leaned in beside me and whispered, "You're about to get your life back, Lenny." "I never lost it," I said. "Just let the wrong people think they could borrow it." When the judge called us in, I walked with slow, steady steps. I didn't glare at her, didn't smirk, didn't gloat, but I watched her fidget, watched her avoid my eyes, watched her attorney lean in and whisper, "Just sign it." And she did. No argument, no plea, just a signature on a dotted line that finally severed what she tried so hard to fake. After the gavel hit the bench, I shook Greg's hand. He smiled. "I'd say congratulations, but I think peace is the better prize." He was right. But peace wasn't the end. There was one more move. Before we continue, please subscribe to the channel and write in the comments where you're watching from. The next day, Tyler Knox received a certified letter. Inside were 2 things. 1, a printed copy of the final ruling from the Florida State Board of Realtors, his license permanently revoked. 2, a simple note in my handwriting. "You shouldn't have used my name to build your empire. Now you don't have a name left." That was it. No threats. No signatures. No promises of revenge. Just a closing line. He didn't reply. Didn't show up again. Didn't call. But Wade told me 2 weeks later that Tyler moved to Atlanta under a different name, trying to rebrand. Good luck with that. The internet never forgets. And neither do people like me. I spent the next month rebuilding the back garden. New soil. Fresh rows of tomatoes and squash. The lemon tree finally began to bloom again, just in time for spring. Neighbors stopped by more often. A couple from down the street brought me cobbler one Sunday. "You seem lighter," they said. I smiled. The house finally feels like it's mine again, which it always was, but now it felt earned all over again. One afternoon, I sat on the porch, sun warm on my face, watching the mail truck pull away. Inside the mailbox was a small white envelope. No return address. Inside, a single photo. It was of Cheryl, standing outside a strip mall, hands on hips, hair windblown and messy, beneath a crooked banner that read, "Psychic Readings by Appointment." On the back, in red ink, 2 words, "Humble Beginnings." No name, no signature, but I knew who sent it. Wade had a wicked sense of humor. I slid the photo into the drawer of the old oak desk, closed it gently, and went back to my rocking chair. Some people ask me if I regret marrying her, if I regret letting someone like Cheryl into my home, my life, my story. I don't, because now I know what I'll never allow again. And because she taught me the most valuable lesson of all, your house isn't what you build, it's what you protect. And me? I protected mine, without a raised voice, without a broken window, without a single ounce of blood. Just the truth, just the law, just patience sharpened into a blade. She took my last name, but she never got the legacy. And when it was all over, I didn't burn the bridge. I just let it collapse behind them.